This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight from downtown St. Louis in Busch Stadium, the Cardinals playing back in the Central Division. And they welcome back an old friend. Brandon Phillips returns from the 15-day disabled list. His first game since July 9th. It's the Cards and Reds on Fox Sports Midwest. And with Ricky Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to Cardinals baseball. Well, you take a look at the Reds, a devastating sweep last night at the hands of the Rockies. The Cardinals taking 3 of 4 against San Diego. The Cardinals, really with under 40 games to play for both these teams, could deliver a knockout blow to the Reds and their hopes in 2014.
The Reds have fallen below 500. Brandon Phillips is back, but they've dealt with a lot of injuries this year. And not only that, Dan, losing 2 games yesterday late because of problems with their bullpen. They've given up a lot of runs in the 8th and 9th innings.
Right-hander Mike Leake will get the start for the Cincinnati Reds. Justin Masterson was outstanding in his last start against Miami. He gets the call in Game 1. Baseball coming up. At the closers for both these teams, hard throwers, we know that, but a rough 24-hour period. Aroldis Chapman in the doubleheader against the Rockies. He had 4 batters that he faced, 4 walks. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, Trevor Rosenthal, 4 batters faced, 3 walks, 2 earned runs. Chapman, 4 earned runs. And Mike Matheny says that Rosenthal is his closer. However, a fallback, if need be, is Pat Neshek. 56 games this year and a .86 ERA. For the All-Star, and opponents hitting just 134 against him. It's been a remarkable 2014 season for number 37. The brats and the hot dogs on the grill. Fans filing in. Big crowd tonight. Cards and Reds first pitch is next. For St. Louis tonight in his personal win column, wearing the birds on the bat. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser. Here's to baseball. Come in and visit Mid-American Chevy dealers and make your move to Chevrolet today. And by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. What a cool shot that was from the mighty Mississippi, and now inside to Busch Stadium. On deck tonight, we'll preview This One's For You, our telecast to the troops tomorrow night. The American League playoff picture and some big surprises lately. Jim Hayes with a Michael Wacha update, and Masterson looking to have his second straight solid start. A look at the Cincinnati Reds lineup since the break. This club hitting only .228. Billy Hamilton, the switch hitter. Great speed at the top of their lineup. Followed by Jay Bruce, who leads their club in strikeouts. Then Todd Frazier. Devin Mesoraco, hitless in his last 12 at-bats. The former Cardinal, Ryan Ludwig. Brandon Phillips back in their lineup and healthy. The switch hitting first baseman, Brian Pena. Shortstop, Zach Cozart. And a good hitting pitcher, Mike Leake. Justin Masterson in Miami, his last time out, our Kia starter, was absolutely outstanding. Those are his season numbers, both with Cleveland and St. Louis.
He made an adjustment. He got his sinker down in the zone, was on top of it. He stayed taller with his back leg and his delivery to the plate, and the results were perfect. Just 3 hits. By the way, that opening shot, a good metaphor for these two teams, kind of treading water all season long. The Cardinals seem to be swimming a bit. The Reds starting to go under.
Good point. First pitch to Hamilton is taken for a ball outside. Billy Hamilton with 45 stolen bases this year. Second best in the National League behind the Dodgers' D. Gordon, who's had a breakout season. He has 56, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. He's coming off a doubleheader last night with 5 hits, 3 doubles, 4 runs yesterday, and an 8-for-18 series against the Rockies. It really just a devastating sweep at the hands of Colorado in that doubleheader. Ground ball right side, past the diving Wong, and into right field for a leadoff base hit. Let's take a look at the Cardinals defensively. Matt Holliday has been nursing that sore knee, but he's back in there in left field. Around the Horn is brought to you by Dobbs. John Jay in center, and Oscar Taveras is in right. Carpenter and Peralta on the left side of the infield. Wong and Adams on the right side. Pierzynski behind the plate. Masterson is on the mound. Here's Jay Bruce, who is just 2 for 14 against the Cardinal right-hander in his career. Dropping down a bunt. It's a beauty, but rolls foul.
The Cardinals had the shift on for Jay Bruce, and you may want to rethink that a little bit. If you're just going to let a guy that can bunt well get on base, 2 men on in the first inning, that puts your pitcher in a hole. Masterson already dealing with the reality of the speed of Billy Hamilton, who has 45 stolen bases. And Dan, if you had to say today who's the rookie of the year in the National League, I'd say it's Billy Hamilton. The shift may be modified a bit after that bunt attempt.
I think Colton Wong will get a look, but because he spent time on the DL and was sent down to the minor leagues, that'll hurt his chances.
And there's more time.
If Wong goes on a tear, he'll be in that conversation more so than he is today. It's been a tough year for Jay Bruce, hitting just .221. 13 home runs. He's driven in 51. Against A.J. Pierzynski and Tony Cruz, base stealers are 18 for 20.
Since Yachty, it's become a new world for the Cardinals. Hamilton has 45 stolen bases on his own. The Cardinals with just 49 total. He has not run as much lately.
Month of August, only 5 stolen base attempts. Here's the 0-1. He's not running, and it's a check swing and a foul ball. 2 strikes.
They're also talking about a team that's lost a lot of games in August, and maybe the situation has not made sense for him to run. Maybe down 3 or 4 runs early. There's a look at Yadier Molina, who's taking ground balls today at first base, throwing. Mike Matheny was smiling from ear to ear watching Yachty during infield practice.
It's not just about swinging the bat, but also gripping and throwing the baseball.
Exactly.
Here's an 0-2. The strikeout. That's 113 strikeouts for Jay Bruce this year.
Sinker that actually stayed up in the zone. Masterson got a couple of strikeouts in his last outing up, but he established down well enough that he could get away with a couple pitches up, but he doesn't live up there and shouldn't live up there.
Now it's Todd Frazier with 20 home runs, 19 of the 20 coming in the first half of the season. And time is called. I would think if you're the Cincinnati Reds, and here's a team, as you mentioned, sinking, not swimming right now. 8.5 games back, still in the picture for the wild card. You have nothing to lose. Be aggressive against A.J. Pierzynski. It's kept in front by Adams, who saved the game yesterday by putting a glove on a baseball in the ninth.
Boy, he sure did. He has shown us that he has terrific hands. Adams does, and that ball was ticketed to right field off the bat of Seth Smith, and it would have been a tie game or worse. But he knocked it down, kept the ball in the infield, and a lot happened yesterday. A lot happened to the Reds yesterday that they'd like to forget about, frankly. But defense, as we say often, matters.
Cincinnati is hit into the fewest double plays in the National League this year. This time called by A.J. Pierzynski. Frazier is grounded into a team high 10. Little bigger lead this time. There he goes. And that's ripped foul. Nice play made by the fan.
Think his heart is pounding right now?
Oh, yeah. That was a screamer off his bat.
Exactly.
You see the splits home and road for Frazier this year. Pierzynski out to visit with Masterson. And Rick, you being a former pitcher, and a lot of times in crunch situations, late innings, where that guy at first base could be a tying or a winning run. But the point being, he puts pressure on you. From a pitcher's perspective, Billy Hamilton makes things uneasy.
There's no question he does that. The Cardinals teams of the 80s were notorious for taking a pitcher out of his game and taking his focus off of the plate. That's where it needs to be by the time you release the baseball. Otherwise, you're going to throw one right down central.
A base hit to left. And it brings in Devin Mesoraco. And let's take a look at that location. Is it right down central here?
There's a look at the strike zone, and that's about as right down central as you can be. And again, Masterson got the ground balls against Miami, and he was living at the knees, and the movement was terrific. And the point in his earlier starts was that he was collapsing with his back leg and trying to oversink the ball, and it was almost like a screwball, and he wasn't throwing it hard enough. So he has to have more of a stiff back leg, throw downhill as he did right there, and get it about knee high.
I thought his last start, besides being his best, was his most important, because he had two so-so starts, and that's putting it probably the best way to describe it in his favor. There's that good sinking action, and with Carlos Martinez dealing down in the minor leagues, really made you think if he had a poor start in Miami, what would happen tonight?
It's funny in this game, Dan, we talk about, and the players, you'll hear it from managers, players alike. Everybody will say, oh, it's a long season, plenty of time, and it's early, it's early, it's early. And it goes from early to late almost overnight. And you start thinking about how many games are left, how many more starts somebody might have, and you realize the time is now.
Second strikeout for Masterson. Carlos Martinez with great numbers in the minor leagues. Worked on some mechanical flaws that he had, and he's in the bullpen and ready to go tonight.
You know what I hope is he had a chance to work out of the stretch some. He didn't give up very many hits. He started twice, but I hope he actually worked out of the stretch, because there was some mechanical issues that arose with him working out of the bullpen that we would only see from the stretch. He got a little flatter with his fastball and with his breaking pitch, and let's hope that was part of his lesson down in Memphis.
These fans, they do not forget. Again, another nice round of applause for Ryan Ludwig. It swung on for strike one. Ludwig yesterday hit a 458-foot home run against the Rockies. The Reds hold an option on Ludwig for next season. The buyout for that contract is $4.5 million. So either way, it's a nice payday in 2015 for Ryan Ludwig. That pitch inside, 1 ball and 1 strike.
And he'd rather play.
Runners at first and second. Base hit, you would think there is no chance to throw out Billy Hamilton from second base.
Don't have to worry about arm strength for your outfielders when Hamilton's aboard, especially with 2 outs. He doesn't really even need to be at third at this point. He can score from second. And you know, it's interesting with Masterson's delivery, and we noticed it in his first outing as a Cardinal. He continues to look at second base a long way into his delivery, and instead of kind of turning his head and picking up the target quickly, and that's something I know has caught the attention of the Cardinals, that he is losing perhaps his vision of where home plate is because he's looking too late into his delivery.
Check swing, and he went. Strikes out the side here in the first inning. The Reds strand 2. One of 3 between the Cardinals and the Reds. Did A.J. Pierzynski sell it a little bit on that check swing of Ryan Ludwig's?
Well, everybody needs an advocate every once in a while, and Justin Masterson needs his catcher to point right away, and that may influence an umpire. When you're sure about it, don't kind of half-ask. Go ahead and say, yes, I believe he went, do it right away, and perhaps that will influence the call.
A look at the Cardinals lineup. Matt Carpenter, Colton Long, and Matt Holliday, followed by Adams, Peralta, and Pierzynski. Oscar Taveras, he'll bat 7th, Jay 8th, Masterson 9th. Seems like yesterday he was drafted and then jumped to the major leagues. That's Mike Leake, 8th overall pick in 2009. Skipped the minors, in the big leagues, and ready to go in 2010. Matt Carpenter was 5 for 15 over the weekend in the 4 games against San Diego. His average is at .284. Three hits yesterday, 3 RBIs. He now has 102 multi-hit games. Since the beginning of 2013, that's most in Major League Baseball. What a job he has done from this leadoff spot, and I think we'd say what a job he's done from 2 or 3 or 5 in the lineup, wherever you put him.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about Matt Carpenter being maybe the perfect number 2 hitter or number 3 hitter, and when Mike Matheny's asked about it, I think he agrees with that, but he believes his value at the top of the lineup you just can't underestimate. And that high on-base percentage, especially the deep counts he works.
Here's Brandon Phillips, the Gold Glover, and he makes the play. I'm sure that's a great sight for the Reds in this stretch run. See Brandon Phillips back out there and playing second base. All-star type player, Gold Glove defender. He's at second base tonight. Pena's at first, Kozar at short, and Frazier is at third. Ludwig in left, Hamilton in center, Jay Bruce in right, Devin Mesoraco is behind the plate. And here's Colton Long, who takes ball 1. Tonight is the anniversary of the last time a left-handed throwing player played second base. 1983. The conclusion of the George Brett Pine Tar game, and Don Mattingly was at second base.
Is that right?
Finished up the game there. Last lefty thrower to do that at second base.
You know, Don Mattingly was a tremendous fielder. We talk about him obviously as a manager of the Dodgers, who, by the way, couldn't beat Milwaukee. What was up with that?
With Greinke and Kershaw.
They got swept in Milwaukee, but Mattingly, a terrific hitter for the Yankees, and maybe the best pure hitter as a young player that I've ever seen. But also a fantastic defender.
Here's Phillips again. He'll get his counterpart. 2 down.
Well, this is what Leake's going to do. He's not an overpowering guy. You know, think kind of a Greg Maddux type pitcher. He's really just going to change speeds and move the ball in and out. He's a control guy, and he's not really going to overly impress you with his stuff, but he does know how to pitch. He does know how to win. He's 51-40 in his career, but he's not pitched very well against the Cardinals. We talked about his numbers earlier, 5-6, ERA close to 5. Cardinals have figured him out somehow.
Holiday has figured him out, the tune of 11 for 28. So maybe this is the matchup that he needs to get off his 0 for 18 skid. Dealing with a sore left knee and the bangs and bruises that he deals with day in and day out. And again, he's the highest paid player on the team, and that gets a lot of attention. But he plays hurt more times than people hear about. Plays hurt an awful lot.
He's got a lot of muscles to hurt.
He's a big man.
That's Whitey's old line. These guys would stop getting in shape. They're pulling muscles I didn't know existed.
Great to see Whitey at the Hall of Fame at Ballpark Village the other day in a great ceremony. Craig Wilson and Tony Simikaitis and Ron Waterman. So many behind the scenes made that go.
Obviously, Whitey said that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but the reality is the fitness of players is so important, and the fitness is their strength, their stamina, their muscle endurance, and their ability to stay on the field. And some guys are prone to injury, and they put themselves, due to body awareness issues, into positions of getting hurt more than others.
3-2, and Holiday takes ball 4. Having had a chance to be a part of the ceremony for the Hall of Famers, the Cooperstown Hall of Famers, as you know, Rick, were a part of that, as Adams will dig in. And to further your point about guys being in the trainer's room, I said Tim McCarver told me, and I was talking to Lou Brock, that you were never in the trainer's room. Very proud answer. He said, that's correct.
How about that?
Yes, sir.
So you had a chance to verify that. I like it.
He said, I didn't spend time in there. I spent my time on the field.
And this is a shameless plug for my partner here, but you did a great job, Dan, with that
Thank you.
event. And for those who missed it on Fox Sports Midwest, it really was a great celebration of our new Cardinal Hall of Famers. Really, really well done.
Thank you very much. And Max Linewand, behind the scenes, one of our producers at Fox Sports Midwest, our great crew. The scenes from over there, and I know fans have really enjoyed seeing that yesterday and again today, and I believe it'll run again after the game tonight. Inside to Adams. A lot of emotions, and a great speech by Willie McGee and Jim Edmonds, Mike Shannon, Marion family.
They were all emotional in their own way, and I think you'll pick it up if you've not seen it and you listen to their words. And Jimmy Edmonds talking about how he was accepted by the Hall of Famers. You could tell that had a lot of emotion to it when he made that statement.
Adams shoots it out to deep right center field. This ball will get down. One hops off the wall. Here comes Holiday. Bad knee and all, he'll score. 1-0 St. Louis. Adams comes through. RBI number 55.
Power is more than just hitting home runs. It's also hitting gappers. And doing it with 2 outs, even better. Holiday, bad knee and all, as you mentioned, gets a good jump. And he's not going to let a bad knee get in his way of scoring a run. Hustling all the way. And this Reds team, Dan, I think is on the edge right now. I think yesterday's 2 losses may have been devastating for them. They got in about 5 o'clock in the morning by the time they got to bed here in St. Louis, and they lost a day game, they lost a night game, they gave up a ton of runs in the 8th inning, then the 9th inning. Drew Stubbs had a big hit against them, a guy they got rid of the year before to add insult to injury. I just think it was a painful day for them. Used every one of their relievers.
2 outs and an 0-1 pitch. Peralta into right and off the glove of Jay Bruce. Adams will score. Off the glove, off the body. And Peralta looking out to Bruce and trying to figure out what happened. The result, an RBI, a hit, and a 2-run first inning lead.
Jay Bruce is an outstanding right fielder, but not there. Ball hits off his glove. He tries to get into the slide, then it hits off his right shoulder. A guy with a terrific arm, outstanding outfielder. Cardinals get a break, and it's part of what the Reds have been dealing with since the All-Star break. They have struggled in all facets of the game.
Here's A.J. Pierzynski. I thought the Cardinals really caught a break with Adams' double that did not go over the wall, because then Holiday stays at third base. No runs scored. That stayed in play. Now Pierzynski grounds to first, and then the Cardinals catch a break there with the misplay by Jay Bruce. Peralta will take it. They rule it a hit. And Adams and Peralta come through with 2 outs. The big man with RBI number 55 after an inning of play here at Busch. Against San Diego and Cincinnati. We check in with Jim Hayes for the first time tonight. It'll be Phillips, Pena, and Cozart coming up. And things looking bright for Michael Wacha, Jim.
Yeah, Michael Wacha was back on the mound for a second time as he threw another bullpen today. Wacha threw 35 pitches, 75% intensity, which he says is a bit more than he threw in his first session. Mike Matheny said Wacha impressed him, saying he looked effortless and close to what they would normally see from him. Wacha had an MRI earlier today. He told me the arm, the shoulder both feel great, and that he has another bullpen tentatively set for Wednesday, but things looking good for Michael Wacha.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Phillips, now 0-2. Jim, how about a timetable as to when he might see hitters? Not necessarily go on a rehab assignment, but maybe some hitters here at the ballpark.
Well, they would like for him, Mike Matheny was asked that before the game, they would like to see him against competition. So they're still holding out hope that before the minor league season ends that maybe he can go out and get a rehab appearance in. Otherwise, they'll use simulated games. But right now, they still want him to amp up the intensity and throw a little bit more. Right now, 35 pitches, Dan, they'd like to see more from him.
We saw yesterday Trevor Rosenthal have his issues with his control, the 3 walks, and it was Seth Maness, Jim, at the back end that bailed him out.
Yeah, Maness picked up his second save last night, and he's been really good since a rough April. Opponents hit .333 off Maness in April, .249 since, 4.09 ERA in April, 2.61 since. Mike Matheny told me it's all about throwing strikes for Seth. He says early on they'd watch Maness miss his spots and were like in disbelief because he's got such good location. Couple of great numbers on Maness. He coaxed 27 double plays since the start of last year, best of any reliever in all of baseball, and his 1.95 career ground ball double play per 9 innings is the highest rate ever, or Dan, at least since they've been tracking that kind of thing statistically. Pretty impressive stuff for Maness.
We get the point. That means he is a double play machine. Thank you, Jim. And little help from Matt Adams yesterday, but Maness really has come on.
And he has some similarities to Justin Masterson in terms of having to throw strikes to be effective and having to keep his sinker down in the zone, get ground balls. They're not exactly the same kind of pitcher, but they want the same result.
Little jam shot hit to short. Peralta retires Brandon Phillips. Crowd loves that.
We talked about how good Masterson was his last outing. He had no walks in that game. And that's something that Seth Maness has been doing, attacking the zone. And, yeah, they're going to find holes every once in a while, but Seth has been a big boost the last month or so. And that's really, Dan, what you hope for with the Cardinals, that they get a hot bullpen over the next 6 weeks.
One out. Here's a switch hitting first baseman Brian Pena. If you're wondering, Joey Votto's still on the disabled list, and any way you want to look at it, whether or not he draws too many walks, doesn't hit for enough power, not driving in enough runs, but the Votto lack of presence in the lineup is massive for Cincinnati.
Yeah, there's one question to say, should he hit second or should he hit third, but it's a pretty easy answer. Should he hit somewhere? The answer is yes, if you're a fan of the Cincinnati Reds. He's such a force. He can flat out hit. I mean, just has an incredible knack for finding holes, has power, great eye at the plate. And you can quibble about where he should hit in the lineup, but he is sorely missed by Brian Price right now.
1 ball and 2 strikes. We were talking to those that follow the Reds day in and day out. They were telling us that Justin Masterson, when they had seen him with Cleveland, and here's a 1-2 pitch. And the Reds will face Cleveland every year, just like the Cardinals will face Kansas City. That's their natural rivalry if you look at it every year in interleague play. But they said this guy, when right, is filthy.
Last 3 times he's pitched against the Reds, he has been just that.
Liner out to center. There's John Jay. 2 down. With 2 outs, the hitter is the shortstop, Zach Cozart. Our Toyota keys to the game.
We've been talking about Masterson. We'll stay with him first. He needs to repeat the adjustments that he made for his last outing, and that has a lot to do with standing tall with his back leg. And then I think the second key to this game is a Cardinal key as well as a Reds key. Who's going to pitch the 8th and the 9th inning, and how are they going to do? I think both managers looking for bullpen answers, and the last few days have been a bit of a problem for the Cardinals, but also for the Reds. I mentioned every one of their pitchers in their bullpen pitch yesterday.
There's Carpenter. And a 1-2-3, top of the second for Justin Masterson. STL fan photo for a chance to have it shown in an upcoming game broadcast. Brought to you by AT&T. Brian Price in his first season, and you see the free-falling Cincinnati Reds. Largest drop in the division standings since the All-Star break. Detroit has had their issues, and clearly so have the Cincinnati Reds.
I think Atlanta's one of the surprises on there as well. They've dropped 6 games from where they were at the All-Star break. And Detroit better be careful, or they may find themselves out of the playoffs even. And Kansas City's playing such good baseball right now. And, of course, in our division, not only Cincinnati falling, but lately, not since the All-Star break, but lately, the last week or so, the Pirates have had their struggles.
They've dropped 5 straight. Here's Oscar Taveras. He rips it down the right field line, and that ball is just foul. To put it in perspective, the doubleheader yesterday, and I'd have to say that Colorado is the last place you want to have a doubleheader. Cincinnati, 7 relievers, 5 2/3, 14 earned. And so it's imperative that they get a good start and hopefully a long start from Mike Leake tonight.
He'll be out there for a while. And you know what's, well, it's not so funny. I was going to say funny about that is Taveras strikes out. Usually the bullpen has a guy that has a bad day and everybody else consoles him the next day. Well, there's nobody to do that today. It's kind of a group misery moment that
just
they
hug
probably
each
do
other.
a big group hug and let's get over it. Let's forget about it. But that is part of being a teammate, is picking each other up. And when you're down and everybody else is down, and that's partly where maybe that may be a way to describe Cincinnati as a whole right now.
Jay back to Leake, who's a good athlete, can really field his position. 2 outs. Leake with 28 pitches, and the bullpen usage. The Cincinnati Reds 144 pitches from their pen in the 2 games yesterday. And a ball taken low by Justin Masterson, who is 2 for 5 with an RBI.
We've been talking about injuries for Cincinnati. Homer Bailey on the disabled list. Todd Frazier's been dealing with a sore back. Phillips just back today. Votto out.
Sean Marshall missed considerable time.
I think that's a big loss, Dan. We talked about him before the game. I just think he's such a stabilizer when he's right in a bullpen. I think they've missed it.
2 strikeouts in the inning for Mike Leake. 2 innings in the books, and a 2-run St. Louis lead. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Schnucks, your neighborhood hometown grocer for 75 years. And by 5 Hour Energy, recognizing those who, despite their own needs, put others first. Beautiful night, game time temperature right around 86 degrees here in the Gateway City. Another big crowd on hand. Cards and Reds. 3 series remain between these two teams. The last 31 series here at Busch Stadium against the Reds, the Cardinals have won 26. They've absolutely dominated Cincinnati here in St. Louis.
That's a number we've tracked the last couple of times we've played them, Dan, and I'm always surprised every time I hear it. And even though I know that's building and building, there have been some very good Cincinnati teams over the last 4 or 5 years, and those
really good teams
just can't seem to play well here.
Here's Mike Leake. Leake with 2 home runs this year.
Four in his career, and twice he's led pitchers in batting average in the National League in his career, so he can swing it.
2 balls and 1 strike. Here's a 2-1. Leake with a high fly ball out to deep left field. Holiday back near the wall, and he's got it, banging up against the wall and making the catch. That's out in Cincinnati, and it turns into an out here in St. Louis.
So you got a bad left knee. We're going to make you score from first on a double. Then we're going to make you slam into the left field wall. So Holiday getting tested. And that did not have much margin for error there as he slams into the fence a little awkwardly. Seems to be okay, but not necessarily a hard fence there. But if it's an awkward movement, you never know what that does to a knee and a back. And he's also had back issues in his career.
What you're talking about is the jolt potentially to that lower back.
It looked like he hit the padding lower and then almost differently with his upper body up against the chain link part, and that again, he caught the ball, thankfully, and he appears to be okay. Even more important.
No balls and 2 strikes on Hamilton. He was left stranded back in the first. He singled to right. Last year, the top of their lineup featured Shin Soo Choo. His on-base percentage was .432. Now, clearly, he did not have the speed of Hamilton, but he got on base. Hamilton's on-base percentage at .298. He's only drawn 20 walks, so you have to get on base to steal bases. The easy answer to what they're trying to do with him is take more pitches, draw more walks, improve in that category.
And taking pitches is a matter of understanding the strike zone. And you can just decide to take a pitch, but what if it's right down the middle? And then you say, okay, I shouldn't have done that. I'll swing at the next one, and it's 2 feet over your head. I mean, there has to be an understanding and a feel for the strike zone that Matt Carpenter has developed over time, and it's his best asset. And I think of Billy Hamilton. I think of how far he's come since that opening game against Adam Wainwright when it was, well, it was hard to watch him hit. Wainwright just carved him up.
4 strikeouts that opening day at the Great American Ballpark, and here's the 1-2. 2 balls and 2 strikes. There's no doubt, though, he is fun to watch. Great speed, electric when he gets it going. Single-handedly beat the Cardinals in a day game here earlier this year. Nice soft hands there by Matt Adams. There's 2 down. BJC Healthcare, the difference maker. 9 of 12 remaining series are within the Central. Cardinals have won 6 straight series against the Central and won 12 of the last 13 home series against the Central. That dates back to last year, and that's our BJC Healthcare difference maker, breaking down what is now under 40 games left. Out to deep right, off the bat of Jay, but Taveras is there. Cardinals score 6, get any size coffee fountain frozen drink for just 50 cents the next day. So don't just root for Cardinal wins, root for 6 runs all season long. Then come celebrate at your nearest On the Run. Well, that gentleman clearly lost a bet, but enjoying Cardinal baseball tonight.
Well, I hope you like it. That's the Christmas present I got for you.
Can't wait.
It's wrapped already.
Well, you're such a good guy. And
hope you like it.
You know what tickles my fancy.
I do.
I'll tell you that right now. Carpenter grounded out to second, first time up. Interesting. He's just the 3rd Cardinal third baseman to start 100 or more games in a season at the leadoff position. And it makes sense. You don't see third baseman normally as your leadoff man. And that's a fair ball. Off the sidewall. It's not touched by a fan. Regardless, Carpenter winds up at second base. If you're wondering about the other two, Pepper Martin, 1933, and Sparky Adams in 1931.
Pitch middle in, and he rakes it down the line. Jay Bruce came in and actually asked our first base umpire, Tim Welke, are you sure that a fan didn't touch that? Now, I'm not sure it makes a difference. Carpenter would have had a double probably anyway, even if they would have said that the fan touched it. I don't think he'd be at first base. He'd be at second. But we've seen some calls in the last couple of homestands on balls that have been touched down the line, and the way the stands are configured now, that's going to be an ongoing issue here at Busch Stadium.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Colton Wong. Pepper Martin, by the way, part of the Gas House game.
The open stance, not a lot with the front leg of Matt Carpenter. Very steady with his lower half. Hands inside the ball. That pitch is middle in, but he's still able to get extension because his hands are close to his body. When we talk about hands being inside the ball, that's what we mean. When you cast your hands way out away from your body, it makes your swing a little loopy and long, and you can get jammed, and you're often slow. And as we've been watching Oscar Taveras over the last couple weeks. He does a bit of a movement with his hands away from his body that makes his swing a little longer, and maybe that's something he'll be working on going forward.
Here's a 1-2. Strikeout of Wong. Fox Sports Midwest and the Cardinals bring you Billikens Night at the ballpark. That's September 18th. Cardinals take on the Brewers. A Billikens themed ticket at Cardinals.com. That's September 18th. Holiday walked and scored. That was in the first. Third strikeout for Mike Leake. One of the things that the Cardinals Hall of Fame has done, it's opened up the eyes of many of us to remember some of those great players from the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. And
you mentioned Pepper Martin, and we've talked a lot about guys that played in the 30s and 40s and getting better understanding of who Jim Bottomley was and who Mort Cooper was. And I think the Cardinal Hall of Fame is going to help us remember, yes, there's 11 world championships, but let's talk about the first few of them.
That ball gets away. A check swing by Holiday. He held up, and Mesoraco never even got a glove on it.
Well, Wong wasn't able to get Carpenter to the third, but the Reds helped him out with that. That was just an errant slider, and odd that he was setting up on the inside corner for a breaking ball and got a breaking ball way off the plate away. I wonder if there was a missed sign there.
Infield is in, and a rocket into right off the bat of Holiday. 3-0 St. Louis. Snaps an 0 for 18.
You talked about how well he's hit Mike Leake in his career. Leake, a low ball pitcher. Holiday, a low ball hitter. Infield is in. Plenty of area. Reduced range by the infielders because they're in, and that's just a rocket past Brandon Phillips. No chance to even react on a pitch down in the zone, and Holiday picks up number 60. 98 off the bat.
It's a 2-out double to right center to get the scoring started for the Cardinals off the bat of Matt Adams. There's been a few things, you alluded to this earlier, that we've seen from the Reds already early on. A tired team.
Yeah.
You know, the misplay by Bruce and Wright, the wild pitch moments ago. Just little things that do add up.
Wild pitch, as you mentioned, talking about Bruce earlier, and just kind of a feeling on this team that, oh boy, here we go again. And you add to that a couple of hard hit balls that were right at people, and then you come back and it's just deflating. Even the ground ball that Pena took at first base, it was like he was smothering it, like, oh no, I better not miss this. And just little things that you see that are signs of a team that's struggling, worn out, deflated. It doesn't mean that can't turn on a dime, but right now they are just not the team we saw earlier this season.
When you deal with injuries, it does have a way of clearly catching up with you, but it just wears you out mentally too.
Absolutely.
Pepper Martin was part of the 31 championship team. They defeated the Philadelphia Athletics. He had 12 hits in that series, and it's considered at that time, went 7 games, but one of the great performances by a Cardinal in postseason play. Now, tack on almost 100 more years. There's been some other great performances, but at that point in time, one of the best.
And again, part of Cardinal history.
Right. A 3-2 pitch to Matt Adams. Runner goes, and the pitch is hit in the air out to left, backing up Ludwig to make the play.
Dan, we were talking on the air about the Gas House Gang about 4 or 5 days ago, and a gentleman was kind enough to send me a book that was actually printed in 1945, and it was about the Gas House Gang. And it's an old book, and I just can't wait to read it and realize that, you know, he, as a Cardinal fan, said you mentioned it, and I love that era, and I want you to know about it. It was really a nice thing. And so I'm thinking about, on a future broadcast, talking about maybe a Lamborghini or something, and seeing if a fan might send me one of those.
You may get some pictures. I'm not sure you're going to get the actual Lamborghini.
I'm just throwing it out there.
You never know. There's a breaking ball and a strike to Johnny Peralta. Line one into right. Went off the glove of Bruce coming in, and a ball that should have been caught. It was ruled a hit, and he picked up an RBI, his 54th. A 2-run first. They've added another here in the third. The 0-1 pitch to the Cardinals shortstop. Now 0-2. The Red starters have been pretty good this year. 4th in Major League Baseball with an ERA that's just over 3. And the Cardinals in games 2 and 3 face Simon and Cueto. Those two have been outstanding this year, especially Johnny Cueto.
Simon's had a bad second half, though.
Peralta waves at it and strikes out. Leak with 4 Ks. Cardinals with a 3-run lead. It's winding down on MLB.TV Premium. #1 live streaming sports service. Watch every out-of-market game live in true HD. Over 400 devices will carry that. Just visit Cardinals.com. Well, Justin Masterson struck out the side in the first, and since then has really settled in.
Only given up a couple of hits, and he has been, for the most part, down in the zone. That last sinker, that's Justin Masterson. His slider has been a good pitch for him in his career as well, and occasionally gets somebody to chase.
He's set down 8 straight. The 2 hits in this game against him, Billy Hamilton in the first, along with Todd Frazier. 1 ball and 1 strike. I mentioned earlier, Frazier has 20 home runs, with 19 of the 20 coming in the first half. He was part of the home run derby, and over the weekend he was asked if that's had any ill effect on his power numbers here in the second half, and he said no, but many times players don't want to use anything as an excuse. It does make you wonder. We've seen, I mean, he's not the only guy that this has happened to see numbers fall dramatically after participating in the home run derby.
Bobby Abreu, I think, was the classic example of that. Then people started studying it after that. Frazier's also had a bad back, which may have something to do with it.
Sure.
And again, players don't want to make excuses. They prefer others do it for them. And
You know, you can't be thinking that way anyway, because once you make the excuse, and here's the deal, regardless of what people think about you, if you make the excuse, it becomes your reason for not improving and your reason for making out. So it's bad for you. And I think that's why players aren't geared that way, typically.
Now it's Devin Mesoraco. He has 20 home runs. He and Frazier, the team lead in that category. That pitch is taken low. Pierzynski out to visit. Mesoraco struck out his first time up. Johnny Bench, 5 different seasons in which he had 20 or more. Eddie Taubensee, there's a name from the past, back in 1999, had 21, and the only other Reds catcher to have 20 or more home runs is standing at the plate. It's a long history there in Cincinnati with their club. And a strike.
You mentioned Eddie Taubensee. You've always heard that story of Ricky Henderson meeting John Olerud and him saying, hey, wait a minute, you should know me because we were once teammates. I literally had that experience with Eddie Taubensee. We were teammates, and I met him at an event, and I said, well, we know each other. And he said, well, where? And I said, well, you caught me for a summer in Colorado Springs. And he goes, oh, yeah.
Makes you feel pretty good, huh?
Yeah.
He really made a lasting impression.
Made a great impression. But Eddie, by the way, a tremendous guy. It really is. A very good teammate. Everybody loves him. And had some good years.
21 home runs in '99. The pick by Pierzynski, 3-2 the count. You mentioned the bad back. You would think, even though you're down by 3, it might be a time to run on a 3-2 pitch, even though Mesoraco is hitless in his last 12 and struck out his first time up, but the bad back may eliminate that equation.
Yeah, I think down 3, you're also cautious about it. You don't want to strike him out, throw him out here, but he is going.
It's back-to-back walks. Tomorrow, a very special night for us. Our annual This One's For You telecast. You may remember this in 2012. Will Johansson proposing to Shelby Fetch. She had no idea that he was to be in the United States, much less at Busch Stadium that night. And we'll be broadcasting live in Afghanistan, connecting with the 220th Engineer Company of the Missouri National Guard, and shown also on AFN, the Armed Forces Network. Can't wait to do it. One of our favorite nights. This One's For You tomorrow night. Runners at first and second. Back-to-back walks. Outfield is straight away from Ryan Ludwig. Remember, Ludwig traded the Jake Westbrook deal from Cleveland. And the Cardinals picking up another sinker baller from Cleveland. And comparisons, too, to an extent, Jake Westbrook, Justin Masterson.
And there's some similarities, and we talked about it in his last start, although their arm actions are different. Jake Westbrook was kind of a short armer, and Masterson has a really long arm delivery, brings his arm way back. But the similarity is they both need to throw downhill. Jake Westbrook would get in trouble when his arm would drop, and Jake's would drop because his top would spin. He would spin from side to side, and his arm would go down with it. Masterson's issue has to do with his back leg, in my mind.
It's sharply to third. Out at second. The pick by Adams. It's a double play. That is the third play by Matt Adams tonight that he's made with his glove that's been a difference maker in this game.
Well, Carpenter makes the right choice. He's playing deep at third, guarding the line, and the choice is to second. Perfect throw. Wong in the dirt, and there's the good hands of Matt Adams. Nicely done double play. You could tell the care that Matt Adams had to get down and kind of get his face right into that ball. And we saw with Garrett Jones with Miami that that's not a given.
No.
To scoop the baseball. He was about 0 for 4 in that particular series. So credit Matt Adams.
He's played tremendous defense. In my mind, it's not that he's held his own. He's a plus.
No question.
Defensively at first base.
I agree.
And the numbers would back that up. Sabermetrics as well. Good sinking action there. 0-2.
A bit of a rusty swing from Brandon Phillips, too. Really kind of a tentative swing. He's still trying to get his timing back. Very same day that Yachty hurt a thumb, he hurt a thumb.
That ball scoots away, and a play at the plate, but Pierzynski will throw to first. And Phillips retired. The strikeout number 4 tonight for Masterson.
You know, he's throwing that bowling ball sinker up there, and it's tough to hit to begin with, and then he's got a sweeping slider that really starts out of the same spot. So the sinker's going running in on you, and the slider's sweeping away, and the slider's really tight, and it takes off. So, you know, when he's got those two pitches going, it's a tough at-bat.
Earlier today on the pregame show, and that was Peter Borges talking about Justin Masterson. Those two squared off in the American League, and here is A.J. Pierzynski. With Yadier Molina, the Cardinals were 50-42. Since he's been gone, 1 game above 500. And the Cardinals trying to get to 10 games as a team above the 500 mark tonight. As AJ pops one foul. Mike Matheny was asked about AJ yesterday. Has he been surprised by his performance? What kind of guy is he? And he said, we've been a little bit surprised by his offense.
Right.
He came in ready to play, ready to hit because of the layoff.
You thought there might be timing issues.
Exactly. And he said, the one thing, though, that he brings to the table that we needed, and he said, this is not a shot at Tony Cruz, but you have a 37-year-old that's playing the World Series. He's been a part of good teams. He said, leadership. He said, we have a guy back there that commands attention. And again, it's not to take away from what Tony Cruz has done. It's just Pierzynski has that personality. Obviously, Molina has that, and he's been a nice addition to this club.
Well, I think what everybody's understood about Tony Cruz is he's done a great job, but he couldn't do it all by himself either. think that's the other piece. Is not only is it a matter of bringing in Brzezinski's leadership, but it's also to be able to spell Tony Cruz. So it's kind of, you got a little lefty-righty thing going. You don't have, I mean, to catch every day and not be a frontline player, that's tough to do.
Ball is slicing. Ludwig makes the play. AJ is 0 for 2. If you're looking for great seats to the game, head to StubHub, and you can earn 2% back in fan rewards on every purchase, including Cardinals tickets. Plus, with all-in pricing, there are no surprise fees at checkout. It's StubHub, your ticket to upgrades and more. Oscar Taveras missed an extra base hit by an inch or two, then struck out on that pitch right there, low and away. That was called a strike, and he's 0 for 1. I think what's a bit concerning about Taveras, he's had 151 extra base hits, or rather at bats, I should say, and there's a base hit. But 151, now 152 at bats, and only 8 extra base hits. We haven't seen that power we had heard about.
And he's not necessarily a home run guy. He's more of a gap-to-gap power guy. You're going to get more doubles out of him than home runs anyway. But, you know, he gets jammed a little bit. We talked about his hands going away from his body a little bit. See if we can pick it up on this one. His arms much further away. And he pulls them in at the end, and he does kind of keep from getting fully jammed. But that's, again, a long swing for Taveras. But it's, you know, he's got great bat speed, too, and he can flat out hit. He didn't fall into 2 batting titles. I mean, the guy can hit. And I think he's just still making adjustments at this level. When we saw Colton Wong early in this season, we thought, oh boy, he's not ready for this level. I mean, many people said that. But he made adjustments, and now he belongs. And I think Taveras will do the same thing. He's working towards that.
1 out, runner at first. 1 ball, 1 strike on John Jay. Jay has been hit 14 times this year, most in the major leagues. He was hit 4 different times against San Diego. He's now top 4 all time in Cardinals history being hit by pitches. He's tied with Stan the Man. 53 times they've been hit by pitches. Albert Pujols was at 77. Fernando Vina was hit 79. He was great at leaning into the pitch.
He was.
And back in 1913, Steve Evans played for the club. You all remember Stevie? 87 times he was hit by a pitch, and he held the record for a number of years.
I don't think he liked being called Stevie, as I recall.
No. Held the all-time record. Most hit by pitches in a season was 31. Ron Hunt, as a St. Louis native, obliterated that record. He had 51 year. He set the record at Jerry Park back in 1971.
Al was a teammate of Ron Hunt, and Al talks about how Hunt would wear the oversized jersey so he would be hit with the jersey itself often. And many of those hit by pitches were when it hit the jersey. And fans, I think, often ask us, and you know, if you've been around baseball a long time, you know, but some fans don't, that does count as part of your body. If it hits your clothing, that counts as a hit by pitch.
Taveras was running and hits it out of play. Yeah, he was Al's teammate. He was my coach.
Really?
For a brief tournament up in Canada back in college, Ron Hunt was my coach. He did not mess around, and I know you'll find this surprising. I was suspended by Ron Hunt.
Oh, never would have guessed it. In a million years, I never would have guessed it.
Missed a couple of curfews. There's a strikeout, and safe at second is Taveras, and Cozart pointing to Brian Price to come out and take a look at this and review it. It's true. Ron Hunt suspended me.
Were you 8 missing the curfews, or a little older than that?
He was older than that.
Here comes the manager conversation while the club kind of runs down their own video on it to see whether or not he really was out. Here's the throw and the slide and the ball all coming in at the same time, and the tag.
I'm not sure he ever got his lead foot on the bag. If he does, he may have been safe.
Yeah.
That view, to me, he looks like he's out.
I would agree.
I think if he got the left foot, which was fully extended in there first, he would have been safe.
What's frustrating a lot of managers throughout baseball is they believe without much doubt that the player was, in this case, out, but the question about whether or not it's irrefutable or not is driving managers crazy. We saw Buck Showalter throw a tantrum, ask for the headsets in Baltimore. And if this one doesn't go Brian Price's way, he's probably not going to be happy about it either, because he does look out. But the question is it kind of irrefutable or not? Can we prove that he's out, or is it too close to tell? Call on the field is he's safe. The lead foot clearly misses the base, and the tag appeared to get him before the back foot hits the bag. But we'll see what they say in New York.
I think as we have a new commissioner next year, Rob Manfred, one of the things that'll be addressed, the home plate collision, and then the timing here too.
And I'm, one of the things that I'm concerned about, that I hope I don't hear a lot of people talking about this, but there's 40,000 people here at the ballpark that are in the dark right now. Clearly, play is under review, but once it comes back, can there be more of a descriptive explanation for the crowd here at the ballpark, as well as radio and television audiences, about what, how, and why they ruled what they ruled? I think would give some help, I think, to our fans.
I'll tell you what, that's a great point, because the fans are left out in the dark on this, and they're trying to figure it out. Now, they clearly know what the play is, that it's a outer safe.
But not all plays are like that. Some plays at the plate, there were fans with Brzezinski tag at the plate the other night. We had fans that thought it was about whether or not he was in the baseline or not. Or was it about the tag? Or was it about the second tag? Or was Brzezinski blocking the plate? Was it a collision? They don't know. Well, they know now. He's out. This one's simple. No confusion here.
7, 8, and 9 in the lineup for Cincinnati. Pena lined out to center his first time up. And the first pitch is taken for a ball. Adam Wainwright at 15 wins. Johnny Cueto. Willie Peralta also at 15 wins. Wainwright is third in ERA. Cueto 2.06. Second. Kershaw best at 1.86. Adam also with 3 complete games. Kershaw was 6 this year. Last time out he went 9 innings and lost. Clayton Kershaw.
Cy Young race is going to be interesting with 39 games remaining. 5-man rotation. You divide that by 5, about 8 starts apiece, so a lot can happen. Love to see Wainwright win 20. Getting harder and harder to do.
Really is.
There's only a few guys that are doing that are going deep enough in games to get enough decisions to win 20.
You know what's amazing? I went back and looked at some of the numbers. So far, 88 complete games total in Major League Baseball. 88. In 1968, the year of the pitcher, through 17 games of the season, so the first 17 days basically, 91 had been thrown.
Wow.
And remember, baseball had fewer teams back then, so your talent level is better.
Less games.
And Gibson had the ERA of 1.12. I mean, think about that. It's incredible. There's a fly ball hit down the left field line. Holiday is over. Runs out of room. I should mention that Cardinals Authentics has a brand new Bob Gibson ball. Gibson, and Tim McCarver was surprised when I told him this, but Gibson, the only man that has gone complete games in clinching game 7s of a World Series to win them. He's done it twice, and he signed the ball with the date on both sides, and then on the sweet spot, Bob Gibson, Hall of Fame. Wow. Oh, it's an incredible piece. And that's a fair ball. Past the diving Adams. Off the sidewall, and Pena chugging into second base. That's over at Cardinals Authentics. They have 2 stores here at the ballpark and also online, cardinalsauthentics.com. Really neat piece.
There's the pitch from Masterson. Location right down the middle. And Pena, who's had some good offensive streaks against the Cardinals, dives it past a good effort from Matt Adams. Going back to what Al and Pat were talking about in the break, the importance of Masterson not walking any more batters. That's going to be key. But keeping the ball down in the zone goes along with that.
That's only the third hit for Cincinnati. They had 2 in the first. They received the 2 walks in the fourth. Double play helped him get out of that jam that he was in. Now leadoff double. First hit since back in the first allowed. Chopped foul, 0-2. You've got 8th place hitter here in Cozart, then the pitcher spot. So still Masterson a great chance to get out of this jam.
Not your average pitcher, though.
Mike Leake hit one to the wall first time up. And that's a base hit into right. Cincinnati gets on the board. Cozart, who can run, on his way to second. He'll stop there. A double, RBI, 3-1 St. Louis lead.
Cozart was just trying to hit the ball the other way. He was giving himself up. That was an inside-out swing with the intention of just moving the runner from second to third. Being a good teammate, he ends up getting a little more than that. Hands, he's just deliberately trying to hit the ball that way. Steve Smith, the third base coach, no trouble sending the runner Pena.
And now Leake takes a healthy cut. was that slider. You mentioned it before, Rick. Sometimes he gets underneath that pitch.
Yeah, and I also was talking earlier about how he looks at second base too long at times, and he did both of those things, and they kind of go together. Your arm drags a bit, and then you end up underneath the ball because your arm is not up to where your body is. Once you check that runner, check out the plate, and go home. Much better there.
You also were a pitching coach, professional ranks with the Cleveland Indians, Masterson's former team, and you pick up on some of those little things that can be so important in the middle of a game.
And that's really what a pitching coach is trying to do, is find that one thing. And if you find 5 things, you probably can't help him with it. I mean, you don't want to deconstruct his entire windup and give him more than he can handle, especially during a game. The best time to work on things is your bullpen for a starting pitcher, which will happen 2 days after your start. When you're in game mode, you have to feel it. Really hard to tinker too much.
And Leak hit by the pitch. Derek Lilliquist, I'm sure this has caught the attention, obviously, of the Cardinals pitching coach, and here he comes, and Mike Matheny.
So here's the job. What's the one thing that Derek Lilliquist has gotten in his mind from watching Masterson over the last 3 weeks? I mean, daily. He's not just watching him when he pitches. He's watching film of him. He's trying to understand, what is that thing I can kind of redirect him to get him back on track mechanically, or maybe even between the ears. What do you know about Justin Masterson personally to say he needs to be kicked, he needs to be yelled at, he needs to be coddled, he needs to be praised?
What can be dangerous in getting a guy like Masterson at this time of the year is that it's not April or May where you have a long time to figure this out. You're in the middle of a pennant race, and every 5th day you need a good start. It's a different mindset middle of August and September as opposed to the beginning of the season, where you have a full year to play with it.
And you've also had another team trying to work on his mechanics for about 4 months.
There's a wild pitch. Runners advance to second and third, and a base hit could tie this game up.
Oh boy.
His last 7 hitters, he has allowed 2 walks, 2 doubles. He has hit a man, and he was able to receive a double play, and that was on a rocket hit to third. Off the end of the bat. 1 ball and 1 strike.
And all that happened at the bottom of the order. You'd hope for a 1, 2, 3 inning, 7, 8, 9.
With Hamilton's speed, defensively, the Cardinals play this much differently, with Carpenter in at third, Adams in at first base. Hitting lanes have opened up.
Carpenter doing something that you only normally see a second baseman do. He's holding the runner close at third as if he's a runner leading off at second. He's kind of holding him, and then he's charging a bit to take the bunt away from Hamilton. So he's moving a little bit more. You get him a chance to see him do that again on this pitch.
He's been doing that the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've noticed, only with certain pitchers.
That time a little more stationary. And now with 2 strikes, he won't worry about it.
Hitting .281 in this spot. He's 1 for 2 tonight, with a base hit to right to start the game, and then grounded out to Matt Adams sharply. Here's a 1-2. Hit to Wong. Runner back to third. Wong was playing in a few steps with the speed of Hamilton anyway. Runner stays put.
I think if Cozart would have went home, would have gone home, I don't think Wong would have thrown it. I think he faked home to try to freeze him, and it worked. The ball's hit hard. He's not really playing in right now. And a bad jump from Cozart off of first base. If he would have taken off right away, I'm not sure Wong dares to make that throw, because if he throws it away, you're asking for a big inning. And yes, the ball was hit hard, but Cozart runs well. I'm not so sure he shouldn't have taken a risk there and tried to score.
A different way to look at a shift is when you don't have one on, and that's the case here with Jay Bruce, who's been facing shifts basically every at bat this year. But with runners at second and third, more hitting lanes for him to the right side. You don't need to worry about the shift. This is launched, and the Reds have a lead. 3-run homer, Jay Bruce.
Reds may be weary. They may have felt snake bitten. But boy, this sure lifts their spirits. Ball down in the middle of the plate. Jay Bruce slams it. Different ball game.
th home run of the year for Jay Bruce. RBIs 52, 53, and 54 in the first lead in this series for Cincinnati. Frazier has been on base twice with a single and a walk, and he falls behind 0-2. 407 feet distance of that home run. And a strikeout of Frazier. Strikeout number 5 for Masterson. Brings in Devin Mesoraco. Masterson, by the way, is due up first for the Cardinals. He's at 87 pitches.
Both pitchers dealing with the reality that they'd like to get some more rest for their bullpens. Martinez fresh for the Cardinals, and certainly a guy who's been stretched out, can go long.
Charging on the play, it's Carpenter. The Reds put up a 4 spot here in the top of the 5th. They lead it 4-3.
A look at second base where he keeps his look into his delivery and picks up the target a little bit late, still picks up a strikeout of Ryan Ludwig. That came early. So later in the game, he's able to pick up the target a little bit earlier, which we think helps with his command to the plate. Another point about Masterson is having a stiff front back leg where he's straight up and down so he can go downhill to the plate. There's a drop and drive and there's a tall and fall, and he appears to have better sink when he's tall and fall.
That'll be it for Justin Masterson. Cardinals will pinch hit with Shane Robinson. It was interesting. The Cardinals never had anybody up last inning, as Justin was right around that century mark, and now Shane Robinson being used as a pinch hitter. Carlos Martinez, the right-hander, throwing in the pen. Bottom of the fifth, 4-3 Cincinnati.
One of the tough things for a manager, Dan, when things unfold quickly. You think things are kind of rolling right along and no issues through 4 innings. Masterson had allowed just 2 hits. Now, he did walk a couple batters in that 4th inning, but the 5th inning, it just seemed to just come undone quickly. It happens.
You may have started to see some signs of him unraveling in the 4th with the back-to-back walks, but masked by the double play and then a strikeout. Here's a 2-2. Hit to short. Cozart charging and gets the speedy Shane Robinson. For a limited time, get McDonald's juicy white meat chicken McNuggets for just 25 cents each. Limited time only. Back to the top of the lineup. The Cardinals leadoff man, Matt Carpenter.
The home run hurts in that inning. There's no question about it. Jay Bruce, 14th home run of the season, 3-run shot. That's obviously the difference in the game right now. But one of the frustrating moments of that inning, if you're Justin Masterson, is hitting the other pitcher. Even though he's a good hitter, you know, clearly he was so off with his command at that point. That's the last thing in the world he wants to do. And that unnerves you, I think, a bit when there's a guy you think should be an easy out, bottom of the order pitcher, and all of a sudden you hit him and now you got to go to the top of the order. I just think he didn't really recover from that.
Good lane action on that breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Mentioned that Mike Leake made the direct jump from college baseball at Arizona State to the major leagues. 8th overall pick in 2009. He was 40-6. 40-6 with the Sun Devils. Little tapper that rolls foul. He was the first to do that, make that jump. Xavier Nady did it, you may recall, with the Padres in 2000. Last pitcher prior to Mike Leake doing that. The great story of Jim Abbott. Jim Abbott made the jump from college baseball to the professional ranks. He did that in 1989 with the California Angels.
The Oakland A's did that often many years ago, and one of those pitchers that had done that ended up being a Cardinal at one point. Tim Conroy.
That's right.
And Tim was such a hard-throwing high school kid, got a chance to be in the big leagues at 18, and probably was not good for his development. But had some nice moments with the Cardinals as a scout now. We see him often. Lives in Pittsburgh and still scouts for the Kansas City Royals now. And is doing a great job, and he has to be happy with what's going on in his team.
What an amazing story, as Kansas City winning again over Minnesota, and they lead Detroit by a 1.5 games. The 2-2. The high fly ball lifted out to left. Ryan Ludwig. 2 down. Ticket Fest at McDonald's is back. Download the free McD app to get your promo code, and you have a chance to pick up $8 tickets. The offer includes tickets to see great Central Division rivals. September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, the Pirates will be here. And then in September, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th, the Brewers. Just download the McD app, and it's $8 tickets. Out to shallow left off the bat of Colton Wong. Ludwig is there. Leak a 1-2-3. Bottom of the 5th. He's 12-8 against John Lackey. He's 12-8. We'll come your way at 6:30 on Fox Sports Midwest. The Budweiser What's on Tap, our annual telecast for the troops. This one's for you. Alfredo Simon. Dusty Baker called him Alfredo Simone.
Changed his name back to Simon. And by the way, the 12 wins he had at the All-Star break. 0-5 since then.
Carlos Martinez is in for St. Louis. This will be his 39th appearance. Our Chevy call to the pen, and kind of a tune-up when you think about Martinez going to the minor leagues.
10 innings there, 10 1/3 actually. Gave up 7 hits, no runs in his 2 starts in AAA. And again, what you hope for with Carlos Martinez, you don't worry about the stuff. He's got that. He's got the electric fastball. Got a very good changeup too, and at times has a good breaking ball. But that kind of comes and goes. And I think we've noticed, Dan, that he's been much more in command of his pitches when working out of the windup. So I guess the key is don't give up any hits, stay in the windup.
That's fouled by Ryan Ludwig. I'm sure he'd love to do that. Milwaukee is not playing tonight. Kyle Loesch will miss his start, scheduled start tomorrow. He's been dealing with a bad ankle, injured in his last start, so he'll miss the start for the Brewers as they begin play tonight. We're on Major League Baseball. 3 games in front of St. Louis, 3.5 in front of Pittsburgh. Cincinnati is 8.5 games out. That's the farthest they've been back all season long. And a month ago, which was right around the All-Star break, 4 teams separated by less than 4 games. You think back to right around this time last year is when you started to see Martinez, Segrist, Rosenthal, and that trio that carried the Cardinals in the final month, the back end of the bullpen.
Mike Matheny was asked specifically today before the game about how much he would be willing to use Neshek in the 9th, and he says, well, it depends on if I've got somebody else that I'm confident in the 7th and 8th. And Martinez could be one of those guys.
Was also asked about his closer, and he said Trevor Rosenthal is our closer.
And he went on to kind of elaborate beyond that, that if there's a day where Trevor's not available, he's thrown too many pitches, and he said he'd have to ask Trevor today and Neshek both. He said, I'm not sure about either one of them at this point in time. I can't say one way or the other. But if Neshek or if Rosenthal can't go, Rosenthal being out means Neshek is the 9th inning guy, but who's the 8th inning guy is Mike's concern. He said could be Freeman, could be Manus, could be Martinez. So I think there's a lot of jobs to be had here as the team's trying to get that bullpen in some kind of a rhythm, and boy, does Brandon Phillips look bad at the plate.
It is his right thumb. Talking about Phillips, in his left thumb, the torn ligament, and he has not looked comfortable with those swings at all.
Kind of a half swing. His last at bat, feeling for it, he's not letting it go.
And he went there. Strikeout of Phillips. 2 strikeouts for young Carlos Martinez. Let's turn to our AT&T fan photo of the game.
Tell you what you worry about a little bit with Brandon Phillips is playing before he's ready and starting to develop some bad habits.
Yeah. Good point. 2 outs, and the changeup swung on and missed by Pena. What's been very interesting to me with Trevor Rosenthal is at home. Opponents hitting .261 against him. His ERA is close to 5. On the road, it's 1.31. It's human nature. You start to give up a run here or there, or base hit, or a walk, and it seems like he's always pitching out of trouble at home, not as much on the road. Human nature that you're hearing that. A little extra pressure at home. That's the life of a closer.
Stretching out in the bullpen as we speak. It is the life of a closer, and you would expect that life to be better at home, typically. Adam Wainwright, by the way, another Cardinal who's been better on the road than he has at home.
Adams positioned perfectly right against the line and takes a hit away from Pena. Cardinals down by a run. They've got Holiday, Adams, Peralta due up. The Cardinals take on their Central Division rivals, the Chicago Cubs. We'll have a classic doubleheader Saturday, August 30th. Great seats still available. Get your tickets now at Cardinals.com. Cardinals Cubs 4-game series, including right in the middle of it, a doubleheader. Here's a ground ball. His leak now looks to be really settled in. Holiday has walked, single, and now a ground out. It's 5 in a row set down by the Reds right-hander. Carlos Martinez, by the way, 11 pitches, 10 were strikes in the top of the 6th.
Command we're looking for, he showed it. I also like the fact that he made an adjustment, and it's a little minor thing, Dan, and Pierzynski may be a guy that can help Martinez with it. He threw a curveball that was a strike, that was not a very good one, and he came back with another one in the dirt. Pierzynski asked for another one and wanted a better one, and he got it.
That's slicing towards a line. Extra base hit here for the big man on his way to second base, and a one-out double for Matt Adams, his second double in this game. He's had a good game at the plate, defensively as well, and I'm sure you'll see him highlighted on MLB Whip Around.
28 doubles now for Matt Adams on the season. Carpenter has 30. Peralta 31. And Matt Holiday 28. So there's a lot of Cardinals that are able to maybe not hit home runs this year, but 4 guys with 35 doubles by the time it's over.
High fly ball lifted into right. Adams will tag up from second to third. Bruce makes the catch. The tying run down at third base, and it brings in A.J. Pierzynski. John Jay keeps delivering key hits with both his bat and his bruised body. Stan McNeil has more all about that at FoxSportsMidwest.com. Brzezinski is hitless tonight. Two outs and a runner at third. Brzezinski off the glove of Lee. AJ slams his helmet. Cardinals strand a runner. They've left 3 on tonight. We head to the 7th. Game 1. Reds Cardinals. What would you like to say to your husband?
I love you. I miss you. Come home safe.
Hey, dear, I love you. I'll be home safe. Don't you worry. See you later.
The range of emotions that you'll see tomorrow night, we've had them over the years. This one's for you, our annual broadcast to the troops. I'll never forget that interview with that young lady. And
always an honor and a privilege to be involved in that.
Really is. And her husband was holding back his emotions. And what we see many times in the commercial break is the feed from Afghanistan. And after she left the booth, we could see him tearing up, crying. He did not want to show those emotions at the time, but got the best of him, and you can understand why.
Absolutely.
1 ball, 1 strike. Carlos Martinez, his 2nd inning of work in relief of Justin Masterson. 5 innings for the Cardinal right-hander. 4 runs, 5 hits. Walked 2, struck out 5. Adams, foul territory, and he makes the catch.
What Martinez is doing right now is just kind of calming things down and giving his team a chance. That's what his job is as a middle reliever. You know, kind of go unnoticed. Let's not talk about him. Just get outs and get off the mound and let your offense provide some late inning spark. But if your relievers don't hold the line, then things just spiral the other direction. And then the hole is too big. And a 1-run lead, I mean, it almost feels like a tie game to me. It seems to me like the Cardinals got a great chance to come back in this game if Carlos Martinez does his job.
You've seen 4 up and 4 down. A 1-0 pitch to Mike Leake. Well, he takes a good cut, doesn't he?
Sure does.
You see some pitchers dig in and they are lost, and Leake, that's not the case.
Not a real big guy either.
No.
4 home runs, though, in his career.
Cardinals, if you include tonight, 39 games left. The winning percentage of the opponents left on the schedule is at .480, which is third from the bottom. And Mike Matheny was saying after the game yesterday, he still believes his club is going to go on a very good run. There it is. Mike Leake shoots it in the gap in right center. He's thinking 3. Nope, he's going to stop at second base. 1 out, stand-up double for Mike Leake. He has done exactly what the Reds needed tonight, which is to give them innings, keep them in a game, and let the bullpen rest.
He also showed he could turn around a pretty good fastball. This had some hair on it, and he just is able to get the fat part of the bat on it. It was a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and he hit a bullet. Not too many pitchers can do that.
Here's Billy Hamilton, who is 1 for 3. Runner at second base, and Hamilton looks at a strike.
With what we saw from Leake, I'd be tempted to think that he runs well enough that he's thinking about stealing third.
Interesting, because Carpenter is a good 4 or 5 steps in.
Right. I'm not sure it's number 1 thought on his mind, but if they don't pay attention to him, if Carlos Martinez doesn't, and the middle infielders, Wong is way away from him because he's playing Hamilton to pull. So Peralta's job is to at least keep him close, make him think about it. But you get a little head start on that lead there, and I wonder if he could take that base.
Stays put there, and a ball that got away from A.J. Pierzynski. Hamilton came up with runners at second and third. Nobody out back in the 5th. Rounded out to Colton Wong. Runners did not advance, did not score. And then after that, Jay Bruce with a 3-run homer to put the Reds on top. That was back in the 5th inning. Outfield is shallow. Here's a 1-2. Peralta charging. And he makes the play. Leake advances to third. 2 down. Michael Hall and his crew at Cardinals Care gearing up for another 6K run. That'll be September 7th. So all you runners and walkers out there, even if you want to just do 1 mile, they have a choice for you to do that. You'll go through downtown St. Louis, finish up on the field right here at Busch Stadium. It's a one-of-a-kind event. Benefits Cardinals Care. For more information, head to cardinals.com/6K and sign up. Here's Jay Bruce with the big hit in this game. It taps that foul. Got Adams near the line at first. Long is on the outfield grass. Peralta near the bag at second. Carpenter way off the line at third, now backing up. And here's an 0-1 pitch. Ground ball. Wong coming on. And Adams stays on the bag. Time to stretch. 4-3 Cincinnati. With the lead. Mike Leake still in the game. 6 innings. He's given up 3. Cardinals jumped out to a 3-run lead. Jay Bruce then a 3-run homer to put them on top. 4-3. Masterson 5 innings. Matt Adams 2 for 3. Pair of doubles and an RBI. Along with Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin here in the booth. Jim Hayes is with us as well. A beautiful night for baseball here in the Gateway City and Busch Stadium.
Only guess, Dan, that Mike Leake flew ahead and got here earlier than the rest of the team with a doubleheader yesterday and the start today. So he is providing some great relief to his teammates here tonight. Just 83 pitches and 6 innings of work. That's exactly what Brian Price and Jeff Pico, the pitching coach, needed from him.
The Red starters average over 6 innings per start. Leake has given them at least 8 innings in 5 different starts. Here's Oscar Taveras. Last home run was at the trade deadline, and we were in San Diego at that time, and he hit a blast down the right field line. That's the last time he's gone deep. 2 balls and no strikes. Taveras, the base hit to left. He was caught stealing. That was back in the 4th and has also been called out on strikes. Deep left. Ludwig over. Makes the catch on the track. And right by Ozzie, flipping. Our lows never stop improving. We turn it over to John Jay.
August average 395. Been very consistent in my mind all season long. A lot of good at-bats from John Jay.
Oh for 2 tonight. And picks up a base hit. Cardinals will go with Daniel Descalso as a pinch hitter. Martinez giving the Cardinals 2 innings of work out of the pen.
You almost want to see Martinez pitch more, don't you?
Yeah.
But you have to pinch hit here, and Descalso's been the most used Cardinal pinch hitter.
You're the Cardinals, you're Mike Matheny, you're running out of outs. Take the opportunities you can to get a position player in and try to do some damage.
Daniel had a good road trip. A lot of good at-bats on this road trip, but just kind of hoping that carries over into his pinch hit at-bats. And what he has done lately is walk a lot as a pinch hitter, which at this point in the game, we'll take it.
John Jay now with a 10-game hitting streak after his base hit to left, and here's a 1-0 pitch to Descalso. On its way. And Daniel shoots it in the gap in left center field. Jay on his way to third. Jay being waved in. Descalso has tied it off the bench. 4-4 here in the 7th.
Daniel has that timing back again. The good at-bats on the road trip do carry over. Scores his buddy John Jay. Both guys taking Leake the other way.
Boy, how big is that?
Oh, boy. Here's the swing of Descalso, driving it into the gap. Now, just like that, he represents the go-ahead run.
Carpenter doubled back in the 3rd. Outfield fairly deep for Matt. 1 out, runner at 2nd. Carpenter, strike 1. I don't know about you. I'd like to see him swing the bat.
No doubt. Felt like with Frazier back, he could bunt, get a base hit, move the runner to the third. But for my money, I like Matt Carpenter to swing the bat because he's so effective and so good at driving in runs, even though he's a leadoff hitter. Again, his value transcends that leadoff, that classic leadoff hitter style.
Activity now in the Reds' pen. Neshek up and throwing for St. Louis. The 0-1. Taken inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. You may remember when Daniel Descalso first got to the big leagues. He finished as a finalist for the Gold Glove at third base. They would double switch him, right, with David Freese. But also, those late inning situations, he was nails.
That's really been true of John Jay as well. He has been a guy that picks up hits 7th inning on more than most.
He has 7 doubles this season. Descalso does. 4 have come while pinch hitting.
By the way, I like both of their at-bats against Darren Oliver in a pretty important game in Cardinal history.
Fly ball, tailing near the line, and Ludwig makes the catch.
Forgotten at-bats in some circles.
Freeze's at-bats obviously stand out. Lance Berkman down to the final strike. That stands out, but boy, Jay and Descalso, my goodness. Our crowd tonight, 42,973. 42,973.
If they don't get those base hits against the left-hander to give David Freese a chance, then the Cardinals lose the World Series.
Plain and simple. 2 outs, runners in scoring position. Wong, great numbers in this spot. Can he add to them? Hitless in 3 plate appearances tonight. Wong with a fly ball out to center. Catch is made up against the wall by Billy Hamilton. Colton gave it a ride. Descalso has tied it up. The Nissan drive of the game. A double to the gap in left center. Tonight with a single to left and driven in by Descalso. Welcome back to Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest. Let's go to our studio at a Bommarito Sports Update with Pat Paris. Okay, thank you. And here is now Sam Freeman, our Chevy call to the pen. Todd Frazier will lead it off. And the first pitch is taken low and away. It'll be Frazier, Mesoraco, and Ludwig. We saw Neshek up and throwing in the pen and then sits back down. Makes you wonder a little bit about his availability tonight, if he got up and just didn't feel right and made that known to Mike Matheny, or Mike Matheny saying, hey, we're going to keep him available for potential later innings. A broken bat single into right.
I think one of the things you might have thought about, had the Cardinals taken the lead, we would have Neshek in this game.
Sure.
That's another thought, because there's 4 right-handers in a row, and you've got Sam Freeman in. So I think right now we're going to see some things with the Cardinals bullpen that is going to be less lefty-righty matchup and more who's ready and most likely to be at 100% today. Sometimes you have to do that with your bullpen. By the way, we're not that far from the expanded rosters, and that's going to change the makeup of not just the Cardinals, but every team the Cardinals play, in terms of how deep their bullpen and how deep their bench is going to be.
I think in particular, when I think of expanded rosters for the Cardinals, I think of what they could do with their bench. They have Tommy Pham, who is tearing it up at AAA. You've got Xavier Scruggs, who's the player of the week.
Got the power.
Yeah. Steven Piscotty, another one.
The first 2 guys you mentioned have really been the best hitters in Memphis, but they have roster issues with both of them. So not a kind of a done deal that they'll bring them up here. Mike Matheny also talking about, was asked the question, how many guys are too many on your bench in September? And he said, well, I don't have a problem having guys here. I want guys to be a part of what's going on. I want guys that can help us. And he didn't seem to be too worried about it. Some managers say, look, I don't even want him around. I only want a couple of guys. We got something going on here. But I think in his mind, I don't want to say the more the merrier. But if you can help me, I want you here, was kind of how he said it.
Especially managers that are in the middle of a pennant race. You know, you're in a pennant race. Usually that means things are going the right way. You don't want to disrupt that.
And and that can disrupt it. You've got more guys to take swings in the cage. You've got more guys hitting early. You've got coaches' time on guys to help develop them.
Three and one to count. In the air out to right. Mesoraco. Wow, what a play by Taveras. Fires into first base. And back to the bag at first, Frazier. Mesoraco gave it a ride into right, and Taveras makes a very good play up against the wall.
I don't think we're going to confuse Oscar Taveras anytime with a graceful outfielder and a Gold Glover at this point in his career, but he gets the job done here, and this is an important catch in an important time of the game. And the runner at first base, not sure whether he's going to get it. He wants to be able to score, so he's at second base and has to scamper back.
And now it's Ludwig, who's already hit into a double play.
Taveras has shown me a little more of an arm than I thought he had. Not a bad throw in. Takes some funny routes to balls. Not exactly a smooth outfielder, but honestly, he caught the ball. So he gets some credit for that, and could have been a lot worse.
You know what? Bottom line, he makes the plays.
Exactly.
It's not pretty, but he makes the plays, which is what you're talking about. Interesting to watch Todd Frazier, how he's been taking his lead. His hips turn toward the bag at second base. A lot of times you don't see that. You'll see him even up towards home plate. This time he's more traditional.
They used to teach that. And the idea was we want you to get a good step with your left foot. And so why not open up and be ready for that left foot? Now, some will teach your first step was with your right foot. I've talked to base stealers, and Tom Wallace teaches that your first step is with your right foot. He was a good base stealer himself, and he's taught that with the Astros. So, it's not that there's one way to do it, but what's your first step? If it's with your left foot, why not be opened up, ready to make that turn?
It's the second time tonight Ludwig has looked back at our home plate umpire, Tim Timmons, and been frustrated with the strike zone. They caught the bottom of the zone. Outfield is deep for Ryan Ludwig. No balls and 2 strikes. Good cut, fouled back.
Dan, I think you have 2 teams playing right now that are hoping against hope that this is not an extra inning game. But I think you have one team that's really hoping it, and that's the Cincinnati Reds.
Bullpen issues that we've talked about.
Long day yesterday, multiple innings and pitches for everybody. You'd have to assume Chapman's not available today.
The 0-2 again. Foul back again.
I'm not sure if this feels like a pennant race game yet, but it sure feels like a pre-pennant race game. It's the step before it.
Yeah, it's getting there. Here's the 0-2. Two scoreless innings by Martinez in relief of Masterson. Big gap in left center field. Got him. Strikeout for Freeman. Got him to chase. And Sam picks up his first strikeout tonight.
How about the movement on that pitch from Sam Freeman? That was nasty. This pitch starts out about knee high. Look where it ends up. Not even close to the plate. But at one point it's a strike. And he throws hard enough that Ludwig has to protect, and that wasn't even close to being a strike. Love that movement from Sam Freeman.
Brings in Phillips, who has struck out twice and grounded out. We've been talking about that. If you're just joining us, he has just come off the disabled list, dealing with the torn ligament in his left thumb. He has not looked comfortable, but this is the kind of time when a great player, and he is a great player, will come up to bite you.
It can happen.
First pitch to Brandon Phillips. Instead, a check on the runner at first.
And I'm glad you brought that up again, because the point of talking about Brandon Phillips is not to diminish him. He's playing and trying to help his team come back. I just don't think he's ready.
Just watching the swings, they've not been comfortable whatsoever.
But to your point, good players find a way.
Yeah. Just a very short rehab assignment for Phillips, just to see if he could swing the bat, be comfortable, and then the whole other issue is just getting any kind of timing down too.
I went on a rehab once, was asked after the rehab, how do you feel? And I said, great. And that, I'm just going to say, that was less than truthful.
You want to get back to the big leagues.
Yes, you do. Now, in Brandon Phillips' case, you know there's a place for you. But some guys are just geared to just say, hey, I want to get there. I'll figure it out. I'll be better by the time I get there. It hurts like crazy right now, but
figure out a way.
I'll figure out a way.
Short lead at first. And a 1-0 pitch to Phillips. 2 balls and no strikes. Cardinals will have Holiday, Adams, and Peralta coming up in the bottom of the 8th. We're tied up 4-4. St. Louis is out to hit Cincinnati 8-7. Here's a 2-0. Pena is the man on deck. Here's a 3-0 pitch by Freeman. He walked him. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Along with Rick Horton, Dan McLaughlin with you. Jim Hayes as well. Our annual This One's For You telecast tomorrow. Go ahead run is at second base. And now it brings in the switch hitting Brian Pena. Pena tonight. A double down the first base line. He is lined out and also flied out to center. 2 outs, 2 on. Cardinals did have a right-hander throwing in the pen. It's Seth Maness. Here's a 1-0 pitch. Hit out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Tie game in the 8th. Mike Matheny has to be very careful how he deploys his assets in his bullpen right now. And the same can be said for Brian Price for Cincinnati. If a guy's capable of going 2, you may have to just throw him 2. Goes 14, 15 innings, then what do? And you don't want to be fully led by that, Dan. That shouldn't be your number one thought, but it has to be in your mind that it's a possibility with a tie score this late.
Two and 2. Jumbo Diaz is throwing in the pen for Cincinnati, and this crowd will come alive with 2 strikes. Check swing. Did not go. Runners off with his next pitch on 3 and 2.
It was interesting, the silence of the crowd waiting for the call. No, he didn't go. Then the reaction. That was fun to listen to. Crowd's into it.
Back-to-back walks. Bases loaded. And here comes Mike Matheny. Seth Maness will come on with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Key play in this game moments ago, and the catch by Taveras in right. 4-4, bases loaded. Brought to you by Bud Light Live, the perfect beer for whatever happens. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. Live look at the Central West End. A beautiful night here in St. Louis. 4-4 our score, bases loaded. 2 outs in the top of the 8th. Seth Maness, he's pitching for the 4th time in the last 5 games. Our Chevy called to the pen. The appearances, it's a lot. His pitches coming into this appearance, 23 he has thrown in those 3 games. First pitch, take it for a ball.
And you pointed to the usage. It's actually 5 and 7 games if you go beyond that. But in the 4 appearances that he's had, he's thrown less than 10 pitches in each one of them. Whatever he does it quickly.
Cozart pops it up. Maness gets out of the jam. Heart of the lineup coming up for St. Louis, and that means Matt Holliday. Holliday's had a good night. And he likes hitting against this Cincinnati club since 2009. Hits, doubles, the home runs, the RBIs, the runs. It's updated. As Holiday has had a good night with a walk, a run scored, RBI single back in the third. Leak is out of the game. The right-hander, Jumbo Diaz, who wears number 70. Or Chevy called to the pen.
And he's been a bright spot out of the bullpen for the Reds. Game number 20 for him. Not a lot of innings pitched, so you don't think he would go very long necessarily. And again, not a lot of options for the Reds. They have a one left-hander in their bullpen, actually two, but Chapman we don't expect to see today, but we could. But Manny Parra is the other left-hander, and he's getting loose right now.
Jose Rafael Jumbo Diaz, listed at 6'4", 315 pounds.
My information has him at 316, so he must have had some extra desserts or something on this trip, perhaps. Yes. Bullpen ERA 3.98, one of the highest in the National League.
He's a hard thrower. That pitch at 98. And watch how he delivers to the plate. His setup, he'll work from the stretch, and he does this to hide the baseball. Sets up, tries to hide it, then the delivery.
When you're 316, I think you've got other ways to hide it, don't you?
Rick, that's why you're considered one of the top analysts in the game.
I'm just saying, he's a big guy. If he turns sideways,
it's hidden.
I'm not seeing the ball.
No. Here's a 2-0 pitch. Holiday out to center. Hamilton back and with room. You know, the Cardinals, when you are added to the bullpen, they do the fall backwards into the arms of your teammates.
I see where you're going.
If Jumbo comes to St. Louis, you better ask some of the starters and maybe some bench guys to go out there too. That is a big man out there. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Here's Adams, and a fly ball hit the other way. Ludwig has been busy tonight, puts it away for out number 2.
Diaz is one of those guys, Dan, and we've encountered them quite a bit over the years. This is his first year in the big leagues, and he signed in 2002. And think about what it took for him to stay in this game, and he was in A-ball all the way up till 2010. Played rookie ball about 4 years, A-ball a few more. Long time to develop. He's 30 years of age. Stuck with it. A year ago had 13 saves in AAA, and here he is in the big league.
And you know, he was on the radar for the Cincinnati Reds this year. He's 30 years old because he throws so hard, but to his credit, he has dropped, and that was at spring training, 69 pounds. At one point, he was nearly 370 pounds. Now, he's put a little bit back on in this season, but he had said, look, if I'm going to make it, I've got to get myself in better condition. And to his credit, he's done that. He's still obviously a very big guy, but great arm and a 1-1.
But healthy decisions for life, too.
Came up through the Dodgers organization. And he said when he lost weight with the Dodgers, he lost velocity. This time he lost weight, but did it in a healthier fashion and did not lose that velocity. So he was invited to big league camp, and it was only the second time in 12 pro seasons. You really do pull for guys like that have spent so many years and so much time in the minor leagues and on the buses.
Absolutely.
And now here he is in the big leagues.
Sat out with an arm injury in 2008. really has good minor league numbers. He just never was really given a chance.
Here's a 2-2 to Peralta. Hit out of play.
I believe a pretty similar story for Blaze Illsley, the Cardinals bullpen coach. Played a lot of years in the minor leagues, got a late call up to the big leagues, stayed around a long time, and has stayed in this game as a pitching coach, now bullpen coach. Does a great job, and again, he's busy tonight.
Here's a 2-2. Peralta shoots it in the gap in left center. That ball will get down. Hamilton chasing it. Backhands it. Peralta on his way to second base, in with a double.
If you pay close attention during a ball game, you'll see some exciting things beyond what happens with pitcher and catcher. Starts with this. A hanging slider, Peralta, another double. But Billy Hamilton running that ball down in left center field. I don't think too many guys get to that baseball. Yes, they're playing no doubles defense. They're playing deep, but he was flying to get that ball. Came up throwing. And I love the hustle of Billy Hamilton. He's a better outfielder than most people think. They think of him just as a base stealer, but he's got a plus arm, and he's a really good outfielder.
Brzezinski, base hit in the center. Here comes Peralta. Throw to the plate. Offline. AJ comes through. The Cardinals have the lead 5-4, and he's back to first safely.
Nice moment for A.J. Brzezinski. Coming through in the 8th inning. Jumps on this pitch, lines it up the middle. And Hamilton has a hard time getting it out of his glove, or we may have had a closer play at the plate. Juggled it just a bit. Peralta knows, I got to score. The throw up the line a bit. Cardinals take the lead.
Now it's Taveras. Short lead at first by Brzezinski, and that pitch taken low and away. The question becomes now for St. Louis. The 9th. And there he is. Trevor Rosenthal. Mike Matheny saying he wanted to get him right back out there. Well, here we go. Taveras with a line drive out to left. Rosenthal coming on when we come back. Brzezinski comes through. St. Louis on top in game 1, 5-4. The Chevy called to the pen. He has closed out 36 of 40 opportunities. Removed from the game yesterday with 3 walks. The Cardinals clinging right now to a 1-run lead. Peter Borges takes over in center field. John Jay shifting to right field. Mike Matheny going right back with his closer, Rosenthal. First pitch, a ball. Here's Chris Heisey off the bench.
Ouch. Wow, that got Pierzynski good. Almost knocked him over. Got a little wobbly after this one. Here's the fastball from Rosenthal, fouled back. Knocks him backwards a little bit. He's held up by our home plate umpire. Whew. Cardinals hoping for a 2-pitch win for Seth Maness.
Wouldn't that be something? The 1-1 pitch. Strike 2. You may or may not agree, if this is your closer and this is the guy that can lead you in postseason play, and he's done it before, I like that Mike Matheny has gone right back with him. One away.
As Mike said before the game, the only reason he wouldn't is if Trevor was still sore from the 18 pitches yesterday. Especially when you're out of whack, 18 pitches can feel like 40. But apparently came to the ballpark, played catch, told Mike he was ready, and here he is. Right back in the fire.
Again, if this is your guy, go back with him. Strike 1 on Billy Hamilton. A byproduct of that, too, is that he's not sitting out there and thinking about it night after night. We shall see. 1 ball, 1 strike. Here's a 2-1. This is when you really feel the pressure if you're Rosenthal.
Oh boy.
3-1. One of the top base stealers in the game.
Don't squeeze it. Don't aim it. Let it go.
Mike Matheny showing confidence in his young closer. Could be the rookie of the year at the plate. 3-2 with 1 out and nobody on. 5-4 St. Louis. He walked him. One-out walk. Hamilton is aboard with his great speed, and it gets more interesting.
You don't want to walk anybody in the 9th, but you really don't want to walk Billy Hamilton.
On the flip side, you say too, is it better to give him that time off to get away from it? That's the other part of this too. He goes with Rosenthal.
I don't quibble with him going with Rosenthal at all, as long as he's ready today. I think that, again, the big question, and you've got to get some feedback from him. Not so much the mental side, but is he physically okay today?
That pitch in 96, Jay Bruce, a 3-run homer back in the 5th. It's now 34 walks for Rosenthal this year. There he goes, and it's hit out of play. 0-2 the count on Bruce.
Gutsy baseball for Brian Price to be sending Billy Hamilton. But as good as he is at stealing bases, maybe not so gutsy.
There he goes. Brzezinski to second into center field.
Gets a good jump. The throw up the line. Peralta can't get on the other side of Hamilton. And it goes into center field. And now Trevor really has to pitch. Needs a strikeout desperately right here. Infield in.
46 steals now for Hamilton. Here's a 1-2. Fair ball, base hit. Game is tied at 5-5. Bruce on his way to second. And here come the boos.
Four RBIs now for Jay Bruce. And the walk to Billy Hamilton, the real problem. This ground ball with the infield not in could be the end of the game. But he pulls it past Matt Adams, who's in. He would have been guarding the line. You can say woulda, coulda, shoulda all night long, but bottom line, it's 5-5 and more work to do for Trevor.
Runner in scoring position. Nobody up and throwing in the Cardinals pen. A right-hander getting loose for Cincinnati, looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth. Oh, my. Nothing at 2 on Frazier. Frazier with 2 hits and a walk tonight.
Such a learning moment, not just today, the last week, the whole season for Trevor Rosenthal, who is closing out games at a young age for the first time in his life, other than his little bit of experience a year ago.
In the air, out to right field, and oh, what a catch by Jay. That catch keeps this game tied at 5. What a play by John Jay to track that baby down.
I thought that ball was down into the wall off the bat. John Jay went a long way for it, stuck his glove up at the last moment, took the perfect route to it.
You can't believe it. What a reaction that was.
What are you doing playing there?
And with 2 outs, here's Devin Mesoraco. Outfield is straight away. One thing about Rosenthal we have seen, and I'm not sure you would agree, Rick, but he's really gone away from the breaking ball.
I don't remember the last time I saw. He may have thrown one, his second pitch tonight. He kind of spun, but he's had so little work with that breaking ball from a year ago. I don't think he's used it much this year at all. It's been fastball changeup. And I think one of the issues with Trevor, and walks are part of it, but every inning he pitches, it's 18 pitches, 20 pitches, 24 pitches, and you'd like to see him have a 7-pitch save every once in a while. Not really a pitch to contact kind of guy.
1 ball and 1 strike. And again, it's a decision. Mike Matheny going right back with his young closer.
And I think he would do it again.
Well, I think you hit the point, though, is if he says he's healthy, you're trying to figure this out and get him right. Is he your closer from here on out with just over 30 games to go? Or is there something you have to do differently? And maybe that day is coming. Clearly, at home, it has been a struggle this season for Trevor Rosenthal. Two balls and 1 strike. The go-ahead run in scoring position. In the air, out to center. Borges makes the catch. Reds tie it up 5-5. Up 44th appearance, and at times he has been outstanding this year, although he has the high ERA. He's had some big games, blow-up games, to get that ERA above 4.
We've seen a few left-handers like this. You think about Zach Duke as one, maybe Gorzolani, but left-handers that have been starters and then they put them in the bullpen and they find effectiveness there. Jeremy Affeldt would be another one. And Parra has come up with a really good slider to neutralize left-handers.
So Manny Parra for a while as a starter with Milwaukee.
But John Jay has hit left-handers very, very well.
Cardinals with the fewest wins in their last at-bat, 10. So that's got to change, right?
So we're jinxing that, right? If it was a positive thing and something negative happened, it would be our graphics guy's fault. So let's go the other way.
One of the things you have to consider, your Mike Matheny, the questions will be coming about his closer.
I think he'll have good answers for that. I mean, I really do. And again, I don't think it's so much Rosenthal, Neshek as the question for today. It's more who's ready and who's available and who's strongest. And that's the question you're trying to figure out to the best of your ability, and you roll the dice.
First pitch drops in for a strike. A key hit in this game was John Jay in the 7th with 1 out, a base hit to left, and he scored the tying run on a double by Daniel Descalso. We are in the bottom of the ninth. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jay is 3 for 9 against this lefty. Here's a 1-1 pitch.
.421 against left-handers. He's shown a great knack of keeping that front shoulder in and driving the ball the other way. Reacting to and turning on the fastball if they throw it in, which is the complementary pitch.
And Jay looking for something else, called out on strikes. Cardinals on their bench. They have Mark Ellis and Tony Cruz. This will be the first plate appearance for Peter Borges.
And now down to 3 relievers. Talked about how you economically use your bullpen today. The Cardinals have used 4 relievers to throw 4 innings. So you go to extra innings. Nobody other than Carlos Martinez able to kind of go any length. So now Choate, Greenwood, Neshek. That's your guys.
And you have to wonder about Neshek if he's available. He was up and throwing earlier tonight, then sat down. And if that also complicated the decision for Mike Matheny to close the game out, he may have gone with Pat Neshek instead of Rosenthal in this game tonight.
Could very well be, and I think at this point this is Nick Greenwood's game for a very long time. I think that's the way you have to play it.
The 1-1. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Pulled the string on Peter Borges. Reds tie it up in the top of the ninth, 5-5. 1 out and nobody on. The 1-2 pitch. We'll do it again.
And again, Dan, the Cardinals are not in the same dire straits that the Cincinnati Reds are. I would be surprised if the Reds don't dip into their minor league system for tomorrow. They may have to do that after a doubleheader yesterday. Again, if this game goes long today, Brian Price is going to be out of options.
If you're wondering, last home run for Borges was a 3-run opposite field home run against Baltimore. Game 3 of that series. Here's a 1-2. And he hit him. Will the speed of Borges come into play here?
Well, you don't want to walk Billy Hamilton, but you don't want to hit Peter Borges either. Both things have happened here in the ninth. Peter okay to take that. I think he was able to take that off of his guard as opposed to off of his skin and bones. Parra has a good move. I remember that about him. So his ERA on the road, pretty hefty.
Ball in the gap could win the game. The speed of Peter Borges. Outfield fairly deep. First pitch to Carpenter. Double play ball. The tag applied. We've seen 9 innings. Now we head to the 10th. All season long, Jack Link's beef jerky. Feed your wild side. Look at the National League playoff picture. The Cardinals 3 out in the Central. They lead the wild card. Atlanta has already won tonight. They beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has dropped 6 straight. And how about the Marlins? 3.5 games back, but having to leapfrog a few teams along the way, but still in the picture.
Striking distance.
You know, they have their 62nd win now. They're 62-62. They had a total of 62 wins a year ago.
And where would they be without Jose Fernandez? I know, Dan, they'd still be in Miami. But if they had Jose Fernandez, who's one of the best young pitchers in the game, Miami would really be a handful. Nick Greenwood, our Chevy called to the bullpen. At least at this point, I think the bullpen phone is going to be quiet. And Nick, game's on your shoulders. You're in till the 20th.
Giancarlo Stanton just might be your MVP. Here's Ryan Ludwig, and here we go, 10th inning. Ludwig, a tough night. He's hit into a double play and struck out 3 times.
Neither team particularly good record-wise in extra innings.
A grounder hit to short, 1 pitch, 1 away. Cincinnati 3-7 in extra innings. The Cardinals are 3-4. You know, I'm curious if Mike Matheny even thought about Seth Maness in the 9th inning. You know, you're wondering about, you're teetering on so many pitches and appearances, the rough outing for Rosenthal. You don't know about Neshek, as we've talked about. Heavy workload for Seth Maness, but as you pointed out, it's pitched now in 5 of 7
through 2 pitches.
2 pitches.
Now, of course, you know, we all know that warming up and it's, you know, to get loose is part of the deal too. And if you warm up 2 or 3 times in a game, you've thrown more than 2 pitches, and you've only thrown 2 pitches to hitters. So you have to consider, if a guy has been busy up and down in the bullpen, that factors in. But I think Mike was doing exactly what you said, saying, look, Trevor's going to be our guy, win or lose.
2 down. The Cardinals, as Rick told you, left in their pen the specialist Choate. Neshek from the right side. And here is Brian Pena. Return to the lineup for Brandon Phillips. He's 0 for 4 with a walk. Pena has lined out to center, doubled and scored, lined out to first, and walked back in the 8th. Pitch taken low. We're in the 10th of a 5-5 game, game 1 of a 3-game series. Cardinals, by the way, have Wong, Holiday, Adams coming up. Ground ball, Nick Greenwood, good work here in the 10th. 1-2-3 inning. St. Louis against Manny Parr in his second inning of work. Then Holiday and Adams. One career walk-off homer. You may remember it was back-to-back games. Adams and then Colton Wong. Back-to-back nights with walk-off homers. The Royals win. Greg Holland the save. That guy is something else. They now push their lead in the American League Central to 2 games.
Wong just missed a home run his last time at the plate, by the way, Dan. He smoked one to center field. Holiday did the same thing his last at-bat. Cardinals have had some good swings here late, but just need that one tally any way they can get it.
And the first pitch is taken for a strike. We're talking earlier in the ball game about when you mix up a team midway in the season and chemistry. The A's go out, they get John Lester. They have not been the same since. Detroit, they go out, trade their center fielder, but they pick up David Price. They have not been the same since.
Good examples.
And now Kansas City, 14 games above 500. Their 8th consecutive series win. And since the 22nd of July, adding this up, they're now 21-5.
When we saw them, that was a team that couldn't hit at all. Their power was down. They made a change with their hitting coach.
Here's a 2-2 to Colton Wong. Outfield is deep and straight away. Here's a 2-2 pitch to Colton Wong. "3-2" is hit down the right field line. And the catch is made.
Don't you think our guy down the right field line could have maybe left that stool right in the way of Jay Bruce? I mean, by accident maybe on that fly ball down the line. I mean, you don't have to do it on purpose. You do it slyly.
He took his time getting out of the way.
I noticed.
Logan Ondrusik will come in to face Holiday when we come back. The 4.31 ERA. They're trying to get him straight. J.J. Hoover's had his issues as well. Chevy called to the pen, Logan Andrusic.
Yeah, there's some high ERAs in that Reds bullpen, and we're just getting to those guys who have them. They used Parra, and they don't want Parra to face Matt Holliday, and I can't blame them. But that means you've got Andrusic is going to have to face Matt Adams. But Holliday can be so dangerous. We saw him hustling to score. We also saw him making a nice play against the wall. That came earlier. And then the base hit. Passed a drawn in infield that scored Matt Carpenter. So a good night so far for Holliday, and he can make it better here with one swing of the bat.
It's a double switch. Brandon Phillips out of the game. And Christopher Negron, who has really played well at second base, takes over for Phillips. First pitch to Holliday. He is taken for his strike at 96 miles an hour. Oh, and 2. So Andrusic goes in the 6th spot in the lineup. Negron will bat 9th. And a base hit. Winning run is aboard. Reaches on a 2-2 pitch.
And this is where you need Sean Marshall. You're the Cincinnati Reds. With the left, right. You brought in Andrusic to face the dangerous right-hander, but now he's got to face the dangerous left-hander who hits right-handed pitching better than anybody in the National League this season. Justin Morneau also up there in that department, but Adams has punished right-handed pitching.
1 out, runner at first. Adams ground ball, base hit. Holliday to second, on his way to third. Winning run at third base. 1 out here in the 10th.
Holliday hustling again. Doesn't really seem to be running like a guy with a bad knee today. Been very active, and Matt Adams coming through again. 90 feet away.
Multi-hit game for Johnny Peralta. RBI single back in the first inning. A double to left center back in the 8th. He is struck out and also flied out to right. 6 career walk-off hits. His last a 2-run homer against Boston while with Detroit a year ago. Outfield, they're all the way in. Infield is in. And here comes a crowd. High chopper towards third, and a foul ball, strike 1. The 0-1. On its way. I wonder if Brian Price has given any thought to walking Peralta, loading the bases, and a force play at any base, and you have Brzezinski, who's very aggressive early in counts. A lot of ground balls, potential of a double play.
And I wonder how often he's thought, I wish I had Sean Marshall.
2-1.
I think you do it if you've got a left-hander in your bullpen. Another one.
Yeah. Well, he's got one, but he's not going to go to him, and that's Chapman.
Not today.
Two and two. Peralta can win it here in the 10th. The 2-2. Peralta has won it in the 10th. Out to deep left. This game's over. Holiday scores. Cardinals win it with a walk-off 6-5. Budweiser player of the game. 3-hit night. Johnny Peralta.
They tried to sneak one more inside on Peralta to go for the strikeout. They set up in. The fastball gets a little more of the plate. Peralta looking for it. And at that point, it doesn't matter. He catches it. The game's still over. The bench knows already. It's a Cardinals victory.
Andrusik came in, gave up a single on a 2-2 pitch to Holiday. Adams the base hit to right, and St. Louis walks it off. Exciting night here at the ballpark. Downstairs to Jim Hayes, who's standing by with the Cardinals shortstop.
Johnny Peralta wins it walk-off. Take us through that at-bat. Obviously, you got a pitch to drive from Andrusik. Take us through that at-bat.
You know, in that situation, really hard, but I tried to be concentrate on home play. I know he tried to go inside to me because he wanted to get a double play, but I got a good swing right there.
What does that feel like when, you know, the whole team is waiting for you at home plate to mob you?
I mean, it feels pretty good, you know. This is a situation that everybody excited. Then after that, we continue to win, you know. This is a good moment.
Pretty big win for you guys. A back-and-forth game. You have the lead. It gets away from you. To win this game and to come back and do an extra inning.
You know, this is a really good game. I mean, they play good baseball, but we try to be focused and try to win this game. You know, we fight hard and win this game.
You're in a pretty good groove right now. You've got multi-hits in 7 of your last 12 games. When you're in a groove like that, what's going right for you?
You know, everything's right now. I mean, we got a good at bat. Everybody try to hit the ball good, you know, and try to win this game. I mean, right now we play good baseball.
Good job. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome.
Guys, Johnny Peralta.
Jim, thank you. Peralta, as he said, they were trying to go inside. He knew it. 42,973. Go home happy.